So we're gonna ask Edward to start us off with a little song.
Okay.
His turn.
Those who same as we did last night, we'll send out prayers to our loved ones, call our ancestors in to witness and give us strength and guidance. Oh,
Before we begin, I think everybody probably knows that last night we lost a young citizen. Excuse me, from the house of Winnipeg. So we just take a minute to just reflect on that. All right, thank you for coming out, big crowd. Thank you to the candidates for this third of our series of meetings. My name's Kit Spence, for those of you who may not have met me. I think everybody knows me here. There are three candidates and we've drawn lots from the hat. I wear a hat because then got something to draw numbers out of. So the speaking order is Sherry, Connie, and Nicole. And then we just rotate the speaking order as we go through the questions. So, Sherry, you have an opening statement?
We get some people online? Okay.
Yeah.
I know you guys already know who I am, but I'll give you a little bit of info. My name is Sherry Cook. My traditional name is Huu-ay-aht. My parents are Jeff and Laverne Cook, and my children are Frederick and Sarita. I'm a proud, strong Huu-ay-aht woman. And I come to you with a wealth of varied backgrounds and volunteerism with different agencies and within Huu-ay-aht. I am on the board of directors for HFN business arm, and I'm on the Economic Development Committee. I'm on the Citizenship Committee. I sit on the Huu-ay Council. I've been involved with tribunals and exclusion orders. I volunteer with the Alberni Indian Residential School Art and Education Society. We use paintings from children that survived residential school to educate current students in the school system about residential school. I help my dad with the toy run. Organization is a motorcycle rally and all the proceeds go to children in the community. I organize a group called the Cook Family and Friends, and we use all the money to help children in sports, so that money is not a burden for them to not play. And I'm on the board of directors at the Alberni Athletic Hall Association. I have worked in the school district for 15 years. I worked with Huu-ay-aht for 2 years in the Education and Communications Department. And currently I'm at USMA, which is a Child Protection Delegated Agency. And I come to you with also experience with our businesses. I own a business with my brother. It's a fishing charter business based out of our own traditional territory. And Sarita and I own a freeze-dried candy company. And also I do lashes and brows. So I have lots of different things going on. But I'm excited to be here and be the voice for Huu-ay-aht voters and feel like I'm represented with my other candidates are all women, that we're strong women and we're the backbone of the nation, and we really need to stand up and make sure that our voices are heard. Chew.
Thank you, Connie.
Getting more high tech. Thank you, Connie Waddell, from the Douglas/Edgar family, wait, Dee Dot. Had my own business, started working for the nation in '99 in different capacities. Business has been a strong point for me, owning my own, and then working with NEDC, sitting on the board with them for a number of years. And then now my husband and I have a trucking business, and then here I am again, putting my name forward to run for council. I have been on council previously. I enjoyed it. I'm not currently as busy as Sherry. I'm getting older, so I'm not taking it as much. I have my granddaughter and she keeps me busy. So yeah, so I'm just excited to be here and participating and getting lost in parkades. My sense of direction in parkades is not a strong suit. Thank you.
Thanks, Connie. Cool.
Every night there's a new microphone and I don't know where the comfortable range is yet for this one, and I feel like I'm getting too close, so my apologies for anyone's ears, because I'm getting feedback from us also. I don't do well with kids either. What is that? Might be the phone. Is it the phone? Is that better? Awesome. Thank you for waiting with me. I'm really grateful to be here. My name is Nicole Matheson. I reside here in Nanaimo myself. I've lived in Property most of my life. So gratitude to the Nanaimo First Nations for allowing us to do business on their territory today. I come to you from the Johnson family and also the Edgar family. Connie, I didn't realize we're double related. My mother was Ruby Ann Burkholder, my father Norman McCready. My grandparents are Ruby Burkholder and Jerry Burkholder. And my great grandparents were the late Robert Johnson and Julie Johnson from the Edgar family. I am a mother of three. My children's names are Eva, Bennett, and Colby. They didn't join us tonight, but that's okay. They'll be there when I get home. I have a range of different backgrounds that I have worked in, from event planning to project coordinating to administration in different capacities over the years. Today, I currently serve as project coordinator for BC Ambulance's Indigenous Health Department, serving the executive and senior directors in bringing strategy and health governance across the province to communities like ours. Previously, before that, I worked for the Police Net Project, which was a partnership between Nanaimo Tribal Council and University of British Columbia. And that was an emergency health improvement research project in rural and remote communities on the west coast of Vancouver Island. Was the full title of that one. That project's just wrapping up. That was a grant funded project from the Canadian Institute of Health Research. And I held that job near and dear to my heart for about 4.5 years. With the opportunity to work with the communities of Coyote, Chaplasit, Loquiet, Ahousaht, and Heshput First Nations. That time there led me to my career today. I also graduated in 2023 from BBC in Indigenous Administration and Health Leadership. And yeah, I'm grateful to be here, so thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Questions from the floor?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
Just you wait for a while.
okay. And we don't have any online questions.
We don't have anybody online yet.
Oh, we were so trying to respond last night. Hope they're not there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, are we restricting access today?
Yes, we did. It
Okay,
is
good.
a waiting room. Yeah, but there's still nobody in the waiting room or anything yet.
It's a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be even less today because of the weather.
Already, where does the time go?
It,
Jesus, he's here, I guess.
it's around countdown. Some of the break.
Never happened to, do you remember we used to have a youth council? And then we used to have a.
Not all I was in use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to have like a little table of stuff.
Yeah.
With that.
It's like.
Eighties and nineties.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna say like, probably right after. Or Peter.
Yeah. I remember we used to have it every time.
Yeah.
I was too busy playing ball and playing in the dirt with my brother.
Playing in the dirt? Sand.
No, it was dirt too.
Oh.
Sand was a lot for me.
Well, I imagine just for.
Yeah, we detoured real hard. We went past Nanaimo River and I said, Dad, I think you went the wrong way. And I looked down the river, people swimming, I'm like, oh, so cold.
It's still early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seems a little early. My chicken skin.
Well, when we went to down to like. When we were in Virginia, we went to Banfield and over to the other side there, and we walked out to Brady's, and that was 2 weeks ago. And we were passing people coming back from the beach that were swimming.
That's,
It's just like, are you nuts? Like, it's a beautiful day, but it's not that warm.
yeah,
The water's not very warm.
No.
It never is.
It takes me because the temperature, they can see the water.
yeah. I wait until it's over 40. It has to be over 40. Then I'm like, yeah, I'll get it.
Just, stick my toes in.
Yeah. I go for the plunge now. I'm like, I'm gonna do it once. Get in, you know,
That's what Leanne always says. It's-
people can hear our conversation because you're still recording. We're not talking about anything specific.
Oh, good. It's good to see candidates like
I
that.
was gonna say, should we like choreographer? Yeah, or something, like
Script the conversation.
musical chairs. with
What are some of the things we had long time ago we don't have now? Youth council, youth dances.
Youth Friendship Center dance.
Yes.
Oh,
Those were bad, yeah.
I forgot about those.
Arcades, we don't have arcades anymore.
Arcades.
Well, there's one at Woodgrove.
They're starting to make a comeback, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big hair, we still have big hair. I do. Yeah.
Like
Give
it's
you
gonna
a
make
little stories.
CDs. We don't have CDs and CDs, right? Yeah. With, well, I do have my house, but.
Oh, it's tape deck. Remember when we used to make tapes?
You mix tapes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually have a bunch of tapes from Nanny Fanny and Nanny Mama talking, they're talking in all our own language.
Oh,
People
yeah,
are saying
It's like,
something.
holy, it's so nice to hear her voice, but
yeah,
I have no idea what she's saying, none,
yeah. Getting transcribed.
yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some tapes kicking around with my grandparents too. I know there's lots of my grandma friend. I don't know who has that, but I know there's lots.
Seems that works.
Yeah, the archive project that the nation is doing is pretty cool.
That's good.
Like, even stuff that you own and you still use.
Yes.
Is being recorded.
Oh, okay.
That's really cool. And they're living pieces, and then there's all the stuff that we already have,
Yeah.
like in the office down there,
Well, I can ask the question that was missed.
repeat.
Miss?
Miss.
Yeah, missed.
Well, how did we miss it?
Extra. Because it's kind of.
Miss what?
It was repetitive,
Oh,
so I'll just repeat it it was from the audio, the young lady that was Pat LaCoy's daughter,
Christine.
Christine. Thank you. If you are elected as an executive council, what strategies would you use to improve communication and encourage greater participation in community or government events?
oh, the answer.
Oh, you're on the spot first.
Attendance and communication.
Yes, attendance and communication.
I think I mentioned last night that one strategy for trying to get more citizens out was the idea of adding on to family trees. I gave the example of talking to a citizen who said to me that she doesn't know a lot of who her family is, and she could be walking down the street, maybe past somebody that she's related to and has no idea. And I think there was some work happening at one time. It probably still is, but that was a suggestion that I thought would draw citizens to see family trees or add on or whatnot. And communication, I know there's lots of communication that happens. I think the verbal one-on-one or in gatherings, smaller gatherings. I think we mentioned, our citizen mentioned having more community engagement sessions. Just to be more apprised of what's going on throughout the year, opposed to just one big meeting. So more informal, but still informing what's happening at the government level. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Cool.
Yeah, you keep it a question, even if it does get a bit repetitive, I think it gives us. It gives us an opportunity to like refine our thinking around kind of what's missing, and it does change day to day and how we, work through this process of, explaining ourselves and just like maybe the different things that we hear from community members. I'm gonna veer off the path a little bit with this, and yesterday I did mention about the community engagement being a really great opportunity for citizens to I don't wanna say like practice, but like come join Huu-ay-aht in a smaller setting that isn't, I don't wanna say high stakes, but like something where we're not asking something from people, where they can come out and see how they feel as a community member and, really find that time to carve out the importance in the calendar. Maybe it looks like we give people more heads up. Maybe we get a community member who is a champion in each of these communities that takes on, a bit of that phone be part of letting people know, there's an event, there's a culture meet, there's an engagement session coming. And maybe we'll see the attendance improve when people are feeling, called upon or included or considered. And that's one piece that, often gets me to come to, let's say, People's Assembly or community engagement session, is if somebody personally reaches out and invites me there. Otherwise, I hate to say it, as much as I appreciate the food fish notifications, it feels really informal, and I'm not the only person who's heard it and felt that, where it's just like, okay, this could have been an email, right? And, it gives you a chance to even just speak to somebody within the organization, even if it's for a couple of minutes. And just get that human contact back. I mean, it's really easy to automate and put things off, but personally, if given the opportunity, I would like to continue calling people. I had a memory pop up the other day from the Huu-ay-aht website, and sometimes the algorithm buries stuff people online. But I got excited because I thought they were doing the phone calls again that they were doing through COVID. I'm not sure if anyone in this room got any of those, but I really appreciated those. And it was, I don't know, probably about 8 or 10 staff members realizing that, it's not incredibly feasible to pay 8 or 10 members to call all of our citizens, but maybe that's something we can incentivize for our citizens to feel like they can take the reins on reaching out to our members and, creating a community within our neighborhoods. I'll cut it off there. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Sherry?
I said this to my dad probably like 2 weeks ago. I said, emails go in the way of the dodo bird. It's not convenient for everybody anymore. And I know from my daughter's sports, they send out a mass text message to everybody's cell phone and it says, please confirm your appointments. And that might be an idea of something that we can incorporate, is reminding everybody to a device that you look at. I think the statistics show everybody looks at their phone at least once every hour and a half. I like the in-person discussions, I'm gonna pass by you in a shopping mall, I'm gonna say, hey, don't forget, you gotta pick up your fish in 2 weeks. I personally I'm not opposed to the phone call, the automated phone call that you get, and they leave a voicemail that says reminder fish this day, this location, or reminder meeting this day. And I said this when I ran for council before, was coffee and council sessions where you get 2 or 3 of us sitting at a coffee shop in Vancouver and the door is open. You want to come just talk to us about anything that you want to talk to us about. There's your opportunity. I feel like there's majority of the time we're connected. We're connected through our phones, we're connected through email, we're connected through Facebook, we're connected through social media. And those are all avenues to use. Of course, if there was enough time, we would be in person asking you, please come, like we want you here. But that's how I feel about more communication, and we have a whole entire staff that it's their job to communicate. There's some fine tuning that can be done and there's new ideas out there, so we can advocate for all of that to come true.
Yeah.
Hey, Jared handed me the mic, so take a copy. Hey, Jeff Cook, I've been traveling with these people for the last 3 days now, or 3 meetings. And kind of disappointed that not too many people are coming out. I know people use various reasons or rationale for not coming, but I just want to know your viewpoint. I know you guys mentioned communications, but what's your viewpoint on why we have such a low turnout at all candidates meetings?
Great question, Nicole.
Is it because I touch it? I have to lean really far the other way if I don't. I share that disappointment as well too, Jeff. It's tough to watch our community spend lots and lots of money on a big empty boardroom and, take the manpower away from the office. I know all 3 of the staff, that 4 or 5 of the staff that we have coming along have other responsibilities that need them, and yourself too, and it really feels like we're not playing on a team right now. Also too, citizens are taking time out of their day and we shouldn't have to rely on 2 or 3 people in the room and put the pressure on them to carry the load of. How many ever adult Huu-ay-ahts we currently have, I mean, it's all supposed to be our responsibility. I think we're seeing the lower numbers because everyone is mad at me and they don't wanna come here, no, I'm kidding. I think it ties back to the community engagement part is people don't get the opportunity to try and be a Huu-ay-aht before we ask them for big commitment items like, hey, come to people's assembly, hey, can you come to this by-election? When we recognize is a hard one, it's never great turnout at the by-election stuff, but also to we're missing some of the little pieces, the building blocks that get us here, and I understand it, I don't love it, and it actually makes me a little bit defensive in being like, oh, well, maybe I wouldn't have shuffled some responsibilities to be here, but I think it's making me realize that in the future going forward, however that may look, that if I don't go, somebody else may. And if I don't reach out to a couple of cousins on my way by, maybe they're not gonna go either, so. Just really recognizing that it's our responsibility as citizens to attend and participate in our government, or, maybe these opportunities won't be offered in the future, and it will be simply online, and that's not really what any of us want, or, I think our people want, so. Thank you for the question, Jeff.
Sure.
Do we wanna just use that?
Can we
one?
just use that?
Yeah, can we put this in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't go off either, but he's not. What is that? And that was passing.
So the question is, what's our viewpoint on why we're having low turnout so far at the different venues in different cities? I wanna say wholeheartedly advance notice that people have busy lives and 2 weeks' notice is sometimes not enough, and that it needs to be more. Also, I think that people have come to expect a full meal to come to a meeting. They wanna have a sit-down meal with turkey and roast and sandwiches, and they've become accustomed to that, so when it's not that way, they kind of maybe feel like they would just rather rush home and cook dinner for their families instead of rushing back out for a meeting. And I also feel like, this isn't a cultural event and people are hungering for that cultural aspect. That this is more of a political thing and maybe they're not familiar with it or they don't wanna dive into the political stuff. Cause they just don't. But I think the final thing that I think that I've heard a lot of feedback about is people have already made up their mind. And they've already done advanced polling, they've already done the mail-ins, they've already decided who they're voting for, so they don't feel like they need to come here. True.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I think also that people have already voted. Or if they haven't, they already know who they're voting for. I think because it's such a short term. Barely a year that the interest isn't as strong as if it were for the full term and more candidates, there's just 3 of us. I also think that and we've touched on it at the past couple of nights. The reason we're having a by-election is heavy for people. It's, it's something that has to be done. But, people are still grieving. And then we're grieving again today. And today, one family member of mine was laid to rest and another close friend of the family is just starting her journey into the next life. So but it's just a heavy time. We've had a lot of people passing, and I think people just aren't focused as much on politics and elections and business, really. They're more focused on their internal and their own home lives and their families, because it's been a rough go the last 6 to 3 months, like, or 3 to 6 months, doing it backwards. And it's, people's hearts are heavy. So I think we're just in a different time right now. Thank you.
We have 7 online.
Seven people? So for the people online, we're open to your questions. You
Through the
can
chat.
pose your questions through chat, and then staff here will read out the question.
We have 1.
This question is from John Jack. What are some good examples of how you have been a valuable team member, even when there is a disagreement about an issue or a solution?
Sherry, you're up first on this one.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
What are some good examples of how you have been a valuable team member, even when there is a disagreement about an issue or a solution?
Thank you for the question. I think I've been around many different teams and many different groups. There's never gonna be consensus. The only thing you can guarantee is you're gonna upset someone. So, I always try to have a really open mind. My solution isn't the only solution. There's lots of different ways to get to the right place. Is kind of what my mentality is all the time. On citizenship, I know we often have varied views on whether or not to accept citizens. And the reality is that you have laws and you have rules and you have guidelines to help you maneuver through it. And the path will be there. It's just a matter of having faith in the laws and the various things that keep you committed to doing what the citizens have asked you to do. At Huu-ay Council, it's a little bit different. The person who is mostly connected to whatever is going on, and their view has a little bit more weight. And we just support them with what they're doing. If it's me, I'm gonna say, I disagree with the way that it's happening. Like, I'm not afraid to stand up and say I disagree, but if that's the way you wanna do it, I'll support you. Shoot.
Mine would be from a personal point. A group of us together trying to organize, which is always fun when when there's lots of family members, especially if it's sensitive in nature. And a group of us having all different ideas, but being able to identify whose strengths in the room for the different jobs. Maybe I didn't agree with somebody that was chosen, but I did agree on the steps that we were taking to get to where we needed to go. So although my idea is not always the right idea, I'm still part of the solution and getting to where we need to be. Thank you.
Does this microphone make this on too? No, we're good. Thank you for the question, John. I'm gonna use an example that's come up recently and it ties into both my jobs, so I'm gonna leave the community title out. The method we took to approach it was to communicate that things were changing. Consult the people that were part of the decision making. And were a part of that communication pattern. Take a record of how did we get here, where did we come from, where is this hoping to go? No immediate solutions. I've seen this written in a couple of places. I'll reference my career in hockey. We have a 24-hour rule. If you have an issue, you know, take note, take facts, give it 24 hours before you act out of emotion. If it's truly important, sometimes those things fall away. I also apply this to my work, you know, unless something is literally on fire, which it won't be in my role. I can always take the time to really take that step back and take a strategic approach to it. And when the dust somewhat settles, you can try and resolve it again. If not, bring other people in to help mitigate the harm from that, from the people who may have feelings about whatever it was we were consulting about and communicating with. The reason why it bubbled over in the first place, many people felt very near and dear to this particular situation and who had ownership over it. You know, often we talk about silos when it comes to different workloads, and you know, sometimes people get possessive of those, and to be able to recognize them takes some of the emotion out of decision making or how the situations are being approached is sometimes the best approach. And being a team member that is often open to resolution, you know, likes to try to leave with everybody happy at the table there. Situation ended up, you know, the community is going to benefit at the end of the day, and just recognizing that we have similar goals and maybe just different approaches, different insight, different expertise, and just being able to be respectful of what the other person has done has really given me opportunity to see it from the other side and share that perspective with people in a way that is non-confrontational and, you know, where we can try to break down some of those silos between communication, understanding, and ownership of work, and also to respecting when sometimes we need to stay in our own lanes as well too. So, thank you.
We have another question online from Evan Cook. Do you feel that HGB is doing a satisfactory job? If not, what changes would you suggest?
Bonnie's up first on this one.
I think that there's always room for improvement. And this has come up quite a bit in the last 2 days. So obviously economic development is high on people's minds. So we've talked about investments and real estate and anchors and partnerships. There's lots of different avenues to explore, realizing that natural resources are not what they used to be. So being more creative, thinking outside of the box, outside of TSL, to expand, to grow the business. There's always the potential to grow, to do better. So I think that the foundation is there and that there's been rearranging and adjustments. And I think that there's always room for more improvement.
Thank you for the question, Evan. Are you looking for advice or suggestions of what you need to do next? Because I think this is your wheelhouse. I'm not going to sit here and say that an entire group of much more educated in business people are doing the wrong thing, but there is definitely a couple of ideas I would love to share with them. You're gonna have to wait till I'm on council for me to share those with you though, Evan. But, you know, just echoing what Connie had said with, there's always room for improvement. And there's nothing that I think I personally will be able to contribute in 1 year that will absolutely change the trajectory of what HGB is already doing today. There is no amount of influence that I think I'm going to bring to this table that will stop or drastically change anything. What would I change? I would turn it into perhaps an opportunity for our Huu-ay-aht youth to become interns in HGB if there was one short-term solution that I could propose today and build some opportunities similar to that summer program that we're gonna be up and running, to have some of our younger people over there shadowing some of the bigwigs and, you know, really get them interested in business, because I don't think it's going to really directly come from me about how they're going to operate, and I would rather, you know, just continue to encourage them to do well. So, thank you.
And this one's heavier.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. I feel like I'm in a little bit of conflict answering this question because I know some things that the others don't. I think there's many ways we could improve. I think we're off to a great start with some of the projects that we have going. The new oyster shucker and the microtel and the other kind of deals that are not yet announced are amazing. I think as citizens, we underestimated how long it was gonna take to turn around and start making a lot of money to be self-sufficient forever. We haven't given ourselves enough time to really get a stronghold in those areas. We have traded advice with another post-treaty nation where they're learning about the tribunal process from us, and we're learning about the business savvy that they have. I think for me, I would suggest the same as the others, is to broaden our horizons quite drastically and look at some opportunities that aren't based in our territory. They're not based off of the resources from the land. They're things that we can invest in right away and start making money. I think we also hinder ourselves by insisting that we hire our own people, especially when it comes to making money. I think we should be hiring the best, the smartest, the fastest, and the person that can do the job right. And then take on our own people as trainees rather than trying to build from nothing, because we need to hit the ground running. We really truly need to start making money that's gonna last us an eternity for, you know, my daughter's generation and my grandchildren's generation and beyond that. We need to start broadening what we're doing. I think there's a lot of confusion too that citizens aren't aware of, the tangled web between the nation and the group of businesses. They're at arm's length from each other, but they still interact quite a bit. And it's at times, even for myself being on the board of directors, it's confusing to say, well, why is so-and-so making a decision? Why is so-and-so making a decision? But once you're on the inside of it and you know why, then it's easier to understand, because from a citizen point of view, why aren't you making money? It's easy to pass the judgment, why aren't you making money? But the truth of the matter is it's quite tangled and it's quite involved, and we haven't given the current council or the previous council enough time to turn all of those around, and we did have a wayward ship at some points that we need to start making money. Shoot.
I'm gonna be stuck. No. The next question online is from James P. Nookmis, so James Nookmis Jr. How will you balance the needs of elders, youth, and families?
Is this easier? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're not fighting for this one.
Wait,
How does this one sound? Third night of the night, three's my lucky
Elders,
number.
youth, and what?
family.
Families.
Okay, so how would we balance the needs of youth, families, elders? I've talked about this a couple of times over the last few days, and I often go back to the way that we're tracking and creating themes and cataloging the data that is given to us in everyday complaints or comments from citizens or input. We really need to value that when someone shares with us as a community, as leadership, that those are data points. And eventually, over time, it will tell us a story of exactly where those needs live and in what priority sequence we need to address them in. I realize that there's a couple of really good building blocks that have come to fruition in the last few years in terms of complaint tracking, but I think that there needs to be another mechanism in place that is a little bit more forward facing towards citizens when it comes to the way that council or perhaps administration or HGB is communicating out and tracking what it is, the changes that they're making and how does it impact people? What does it mean when, you know, a motion is made and how do you follow up on that without reading through a 37-page report? It's hard to define needs when we don't know exactly where they live or if other people have these issues as well too. There's a plethora of ways that this can happen, but I think data governance is a really big piece that our nation should be leaning on and could really set us apart in terms of more mature governance. I think that's a really big step when it comes to balancing needs, not one more than the other, not one in front of the other, but really taking a deep evaluation of what it looks like and what need what, because every person is going to be different, every citizen is gonna have a different experience, but data tells you a different story. And I think that those stories have value when people share comments or feedback with us, and how is that put into a larger system? How do you make a strategy from that? So recognizing that we do have a strategy and that we do have complaint mechanisms, but what are we doing about themes before they come up and before they become a problem for our people? So thank you.
We used to have a saying in the school that I worked at. We used to say if it's predictable, it's preventable. And another thing we used to say is just save one student every day. Save one student from themselves, from hurting others, from tearing apart their classroom or whatever they were doing. But I try to live by that in all the things that I do. We can predict that elders are gonna need more money. We have an aging population. We can predict that youth are gonna go into troubling times, cause we all did. We can predict that families have struggles. And I think one of the things that I hold strong to is being happy, healthy, and whole. And you need to be in a place where you embody those things yourselves to better help others make their way to being that themselves. So we can predict it. How do we prevent it? I think we have amazing structure in the nation for all of these categories. And I don't think you're aware of it unless you have to tap into it. Like, we have elders that fall and break their hips. We have elders that need ramps built. We have kids that are playing elite level sports and they need to fundraise. We have families in crisis. We can support them the best way we can. But truly the matter is, what are they doing for themselves as well? And we should be incorporating supports for them. We have a youth conference to build up our youth. We have elders workshops. I think just this last week they did wills and estates. Cause we can predict that there's gonna be struggles and challenges, so there's not a perfect balance in all of those things. But I think the thing is to come from a good place to support people when they're going through challenges is gonna be the best thing that we can do.
Thanks, Jane. I think, my two colleagues have answered, better than I probably could have. But what I would add to what they've said is, how I would communicate or like to see communication happen. There's the way the elders like to be communicated with is much different than how we would communicate with youth or with families. Elders, to balance the three, you said balance, is just to find the balance in the know. Youth are happy to know that the support systems are there, they're good with sports or having their parents or whatnot guide them through, where elders need more communication, they need to be more one-on-one, more time spent with them. They may not need, like, for example, some financial support, but they might need for you to just to sit and have tea with them. And that I find with our elders goes a lot farther than if I needed to talk to administration about they need some financial support for a walkway at their home. That stuff is all taken care of. I think it's just the more one-on and how we're communicating with the different groups is how I would balance it.
Keep going. Okay, next question online from Brad Johnson. What do you feel is the biggest challenge HFN government faces today? And how will you address this challenge?
Sure, you're up first.
Thank you for the question, Brad. We actually had a similar question the other night. I think our biggest challenge is finances. And I'm gonna say it over and over. We were given a certain amount of money from the government when we signed our treaty, and we're given a certain amount of money every year, and that needs to last us forever. And we keep adding citizens to our population, people are having babies, we have transfers. But the money that we were given was based on the population back then, not the population now. So there's a gap there that needs to be filled. And like I said in the previous question, our group of businesses isn't quite yet met the full swing of making enough money to cover all the services that all of those citizens need and all the education that all of the students need, all of the sports that all the kids need, all of the elder care and the excess stuff that people need that's not covered by the federal government or the provincial government that we currently top up. We top up patient travel, we top up medications, we top up prescriptions that aren't covered. Like there's so many things that we as a nation go above and beyond for that we weren't subsidized from the government for, and we need to start making building blocks. And one of the things that I said in the previous meeting about this question was we need to start educating our people to be self-reliant themselves. And I'll use my daughter, for example. My daughter makes, and I'm gonna say it openly, my daughter makes more than $25,000 a year selling her candy. And she's gonna be fully understanding what it is to be a strong, self-sufficient Huu-ay-aht woman by the time she's done with me being in the same house as her. And I think all of us need to do that. All of us need to be raising children and family to be self-reliant. And whatever that means, you know, there's kids sport out there, there's Jumpstart out there, there's grants out there for wheelchair access in your own home. And those things don't come from us, but they do need people in the nation that can help advocate for people to go and do those things on their own and not be having their hand out to the nation all the time. Chew.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thanks, Brad. Yeah, we discussed this a bit yesterday. And I agree with Sherry, finance is our biggest challenge. And I will address it by being part of the team. I can't address it by myself, although I can lend my knowledge and experience and skill to finding creative ways to access dollars. Working in with finance for a number of years, the past 20+ years, that was one of my strengths. So if successful, I'm happy to participate any which way I can to help for us to find more dollars. That's the big thing. Finding more money, making more money. How do we do that? Thank you.
It's nice to see you guys are all online. Thank you for joining us, Brad. Challenges of government, I think, and I'll loop it back to my last point there around the data governance. When we're talking about rebuilding systems that people trust and creating a system that people can depend on, I think that lends itself to many different priorities, from finances to the global warming piece that I touched on yesterday, and the challenges that come with economic opportunities that are impacted by global warming. Also too, I'm seeing consistency become less of an issue as a citizen, as I watch what this current leadership and administration is bringing to the table. That would have been a challenge I would have liked to talk about historically, but I'm seeing things in a different light as I begin to watch the way that the work is unfolding. And the one thing that I do see from the citizen is how we're communicating, what are we doing with the data, how are we telling the story of Huu-ay-aht people. And that touches on many things. When you are asking for more money, when you're pitching business opportunities, when you're trying to allocate health benefits or advocate for more resources. You know, at the end of the day, I think it's really important that we capture this and become stewards of our own Indigenous data. And that in itself can be part of a larger business in showing other people how it's done in different ways, like we have with the tribunal process, like we have done with our child and family funds. And, you know, Huu-ay-aht's done some really innovative things. And I think this is one piece that we could really build on and take the next step with. Thank you for the question.
Thanks. We're gonna take a little break here in consideration of Sherry's new knee. Needs to get stretched and moved a little bit. So we'll regroup in 5 minutes.
And there's really good food over there for everybody.
Right. Yeah, healthy food.
I have one. So you'll hear. It's close from my nose. Yeah. I think it's way better. Very informative. Where was that?
So who we missing? Stephen and Teresa.
Yeah.
Well, Yes.
Yeah. Karen, do we have any more questions? Want one?
But I think Jeff,
Oh, Jeff, great.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted, before we get started again, I just wanted to use a couple of people here. That a lot of people don't know who they are. I'll use their maiden name, so that kind of have a connection. This is Kathy from the Happy Nook family. Her mother was Susan Happy Nook, maiden name, sorry. And her mother was Bill and Lizzie Happy Nook. So that's where their roots are from. And her husband is Marvin. And he's also Huu-ay-aht because they've been married for so long that he's, Huu-ay-aht member now, right?
Right.
So that's a connection there, so I know a lot of people, yeah, they haven't been introduced to a lot of people. Just to get back to this again. It was nice to see Chief Counselor Jack, Counselor Cook and Counselor Johnson, another counselor over here, listening in. I guess my question is, going back, the previous councils. They, along with the people, with the blessing of the people, they purchased a large interest in the forest company. And over the last 2 years, the forest company hasn't been doing very well. So my question is to you, to talk to your councillors. What are some of your ideas about the purchase that we made previously?
Thank you, Connie, you're up first.
Thanks, Jeff. No, I don't talk to the council about our previous purchase. At the time, it was a good investment. It served us well. Forestry was booming. Things are changing. We know that. When you look at the mills in Port Alberni on the island, it's definitely taking a turn. But at the time, I think it was a good investment, yes.
I have a feeling we're not talking about Porsches. I was like, wait, we did? Like, where are those? I'll read between the lines. How would we communicate about a business that is not functioning as it previously should? I mean, that was a commitment we came to a decision on as a community, and unfortunately, if business has changed, I think it'd be worth revisiting, but I don't think it's that simple to just say like, oh, it's not really doing that well. How would we increase that, or how do we make it better? I don't think that we can just grow money on trees. Forestry really has changed over the years. I grew up part of a forestry family. Forestry fed my family, in fact. But yeah, I can recognize that there's different sanctions by the provincial government, federal government. You know, the railroad exports are really hard on the Milltown economy. How would I talk to the existing council or previous one? Maybe over a cup of coffee and, you know, hear the perspective of what was the long-term plan? What was the future planning that was behind this when we came to this decision? And what was the strategy for mitigating harm if it didn't work out very well? I'm sure those conversations happened of what do you do when a gamble doesn't pay off? And, you know, like, unfortunately, you can't put Pandora back in the box sometimes, but it's too bad. And to borrow Sherry's and your words, you know, we're open for business, so maybe a new opportunity will come, and, you know, we can step away from the Porsche business, but as it serves right now, I'm not quite sure that, you know, that's something I would be able to address in 11 months. Thank you for the question.
I think looking back at the decisions we've made in the past, there was a plan. What the plan was, I don't know. But being a informed citizen, I think there was a long game being played there that the rest of us maybe weren't privy to. But if back then, is my thought, the industry was going the way that it has now, you know, looking back, hindsight's 2020. That's territory that we can get back. And we're the first in line for it. Now, we're in the perfect position to be full owners of that territory is my understanding. And I could be wrong. I absolutely could be wrong, but I think there was an end game there. But I also want to point out that there are so many resources in the forest that aren't trees. There's salal, there's medicinal plants, there's bark, there's flowers, there's all sorts of opportunities for us to use the forest, but not for the trees. And I think it, you know, we've slowly started tapping into it. We fully haven't tapped into it yet. I think there's a lot of forestry byproducts that we could invest in. We have the timber tiles, which is a business that is slowly, you know, building and building. We've got biodegradable shipping foam, which is something that is kind of on the back burner as well. But I think we've got smart people in the right places, and we're building our businesses in a way that are structured for success. And maybe back then we took a risk that we thought was going to pay off, and it just didn't turn out that way. We like the others have said, we can't put it back. We can't take the decision back. It was a good decision at the time, and we have to make lemonade out of the lemons that we currently have and do the best we can.
Thank you.
I guess my only point is an asset that we purchased, and you know, if it's not working for us, why don't we move it? Is my comment, I guess, but that might come up in the future at a council meeting. I just wanna you to think about it, I guess, you know, there's when you purchase an asset, you can always deal with it in the future, be it sell it, give it away, or whatever.
The next question online is from James P. Nookmes. What is your vision for our nation over the next 4 years?
Nicole, you're up.
Thank you for the question, James. It's really nice to see that you're online. And my vision for our nation in the next 4 years is to continue on with building blocks that we were given and keep building the community, keep working towards the mental health. Keep the doors open for business, right? I mean, we're on the cusp of experiencing a recession here in Canada again. And, you know, as much as I love the dream, I think it's mostly just about maintaining right now and knowing when to hold them, knowing when to fold them, you know, is kind of logic I would like to apply for the next 4 years. I potentially can only have the say in one. The vision that I see is keep building on the great things that we've started with, you know, see through projects and the initiatives and the opportunities that we have and keep our options open for what comes next. I mean, 4 years is not that long time. And, you know, 4 years from now, we could be looking at an entirely different community with different needs. You know, lots changes very quickly. And I remain optimistic and open to those changes. And I would not like to, you know, enforce any particular vision on Huu-ay-aht or how we're going to move forwards, but you know, I'm just looking to be a team player here. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I said this earlier in the meeting, I'm not sure if you were here, but I'll always go back to this phrase, if it's predictable, it's preventable. I think if we had a similar question yesterday, was pie in the sky, if you had $1 million, what would you do? I think my vision for the next, I would go beyond 4 years and maybe push it to 5. Is that we can predict our elders are getting older and their needs are becoming more. A pie in the sky, I would look at a wellness center for our elders to access really good healthcare in all the different ways that they can, with massage and chiropractor and counseling and other service providers. I think it's needed for our elders. They've put in their time, they've survived what they have, and they need us to support them to continue on with their journey and healing and being around as long as possible. I think we can predict that youth go through troubling times, and we need to look at partnering with other nations and other agencies and other avenues to create a safe place for youth, not necessarily in Anakla or Kachina or on TSL, but potentially in an urban area where we can have youth heal, is pie in the sky for me. And the final thing that I would hope that we do as a nation in the next 4 years is to broaden our horizons with our business, and how do we invest in businesses that are successful. And, we can build those things. It just needs the right people in the right place at the right time. Shoot.
Thanks, Jay. I guess what I would like to do, is to be a part of the team to continue to grow, bring stronger unity to Huu-ay-aht across the board. We've heard this consistently the past couple of nights. And also in talking with citizens leading up to here, is citizens are feeling we're not as strong together, that we're not meeting as much. Vancouver stated that, they would like to see more of us over in Vancouver. I'm sure it's the same for Victoria, etc. There was talk of how we had community engagement sessions. So I know that we could go on with a whole list of things, but together we're stronger. And that would be a vision that I would like to see for us to be stronger, united together. Thank you.
And the next question online is from Evan Cook. Entrepreneurship drives economic growth by creating jobs and strengthening community. How can we support our citizens to become entrepreneurs?
Carrie, you up first?
Oh, man, this is cheating. So just because I have personal experience in this part, Sarita and I went to a conference held by the NEDC, and it was for Indigenous women entrepreneurs, and we just had an idea. That's all it was. It was just an idea. And it sounded like a really crazy idea to some people to start a freeze-dried candy business. Like, who the heck would do that? But we had lots of support from NEDC and the staff there and other people that own their own businesses. I think were a catalyst for us to see that other people could do it, was just inspiring. So some of the key things that when I look back at the businesses that we've built, my brother and I just started a business, and I think we borrowed like $186,000 from NEDC. And again, that was just an idea. It was an idea to get my brother off of a boat so that he could eventually retire and he could be the manager booking trips and not be the person out on the boat anymore. And we had so much support from NEDC. And I think some things to build on within Huu-ay-aht is to build our own mentors, helping other people that just have ideas. Let's talk about it. Let's have a meeting and I want to hear your idea. Is it a good idea? These are the things that I think might be flawed. And Connie has successful businesses herself. And she'll probably say the same thing that, you need a sounding board, you need somebody who's gonna support your ideas, but you also need somebody that's gonna say, hey, I think it might be different if you do it this way. And I'm really fortunate that we just happened to be in the right place at the right time and met the right people that gave us a different scope and helped us along the way. And I think we have enough entrepreneurs within Huu-ay-aht that we can mentor our own people. And I think it goes down to the small things. It goes down to the micro loans. Not all loans are $186,000. The when Sarita and I started our company, we borrowed just under $7,000 and $5,000 of that came from Huu-ay-aht. And that came from going to the office and bouncing ideas off of, at the time, it was Cynthia Rayner. And that was a huge support. But again, it's still a crazy idea, but we did it. True.
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, I think just listening, reaching out. I know when I started or purchased my first business, it was Peggy at NEDC that took the time and basically held my hand through the steps. I was young, I was 22, just turning 23, and I didn't know. To me, back then, I was just a young adult and not sure. But having that person and then the group at NEDC that, held you up, pushed you along, gave you the shove when you needed it. I think that's what we need to do with our citizens. I'm sure that there's a group that is doing that now, but maybe we need to do a little bit more. I know that people get daunted when it comes to writing your business. It's daunting for them to write their business plan. And maybe we need to provide a little bit more assistance in writing a business plan. Maybe we need to, well, basically, I think you just have to be there to take the hand, support them, give them the shove if they need it, because that's what did it for me is you have to be more one-on-one, because taking on a business, starting a business is scary. And you're taking on debt. You're not sure if you're going to be able to make that loan payment. I mean, how are you going to pay your rent or your car? In my case, my boat payment. Like it was a huge black hole. And I think we would have more entrepreneurs. You must see this, Evan, why you're asking. And it's just, how do we reach them? Well, I think we take them along by the hand. I think that's the only way, for me, anyway, my experience. Thank you. So,
Thank you for the question, Evan. Can I get the question repeated, please?
Entrepreneurship drives economic growth by creating jobs and strengthening community. How can we support our citizens to become entrepreneurs?
Okay, I did hear that right. I think one thing that we can do to continue to encourage people to begin businesses, to become self-starters, is finding ways to uphold people in the community, showcase them, use people's businesses. I had this idea yesterday and I was thinking about the Huu-ay-aht app, and it would be really interesting to see Connie had mentioned it earlier as well too, when it came to the family trees of like, who are we as Huu-ay-aht? How can you fill out like an organizational chart? And what do you do? Like, where are our plumbers? Where are our candy makers? You know, like if there was a way that people want to share their expertise with the nation, I think it would be really great to find a forum for people to, you know, network, to share, to, you know, ask questions of the own experts that we have within our communities, because we have many brilliant people. And maybe mentorship looks a little bit differently when it comes to business, or maybe sometimes they just need to, you know, rent an elder kind of thing, right? You know, there's other things that come to mind as well too, is supporting them like a student when starting their business, especially if they're young, because like there's a really humbling experience when you go to start a business and it's not successful, you can't pay it back. And, you know, it is another form of education. It's lived experience, and maybe that's the way that our nation approaches it. But I really think, one way to support them today in a feasible way would be to showcase the existing work and, you know, have our own people be their best advocates for what they do well. How do we currently share, you know, these terrific stories of, you know, so and so just got, you know, this terrific degree, or, you know, how do we uphold people in community? And also too, it may create something a little bit larger later on down the road. So thank you for the question.
Any questions in the room?
Sorry, I'm gonna chime in just because she led us down a road. On family trees. It's what I do for a living, actually, currently. At USMA, we have so much broken families that we have a database that has almost 20,000 names in it. And it connects almost every nation together. And one of the things I've been doing in that job is updating. So that people know where they're from, they know who they are. And it's a passion of mine that I'll take with me even when I'm not working there. That we need to know who we are and where we're from.
Thank you. We do have another question online. This is from James P. Nicholas. What are the top 3 priorities you would focus on if elected?
Only your friends. Top 3 priorities.
So top 3 priorities, if elected, well, it can't just be my priorities. I have to work with the priorities that are existing. But if in my own little bubble, I had 3, finance first, health, and then, education. I just kept thinking kids, and I couldn't get out the education. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, James. I wrote down a really long list of things that, you know, I thought would be really great priorities, and I refined it over the last couple of days here, just based on some of the conversations I've got to have with citizens, and improving communication would be one of the biggest priorities that I've heard, and I would like to make that mine. I'm sure one of us 3 will definitely take that into consideration, but improving communications and citizen engagement. So our citizens feel informed sooner and more meaningfully included. Strengthening accountability and transparency within systems. I've touched on that a little bit as well too, and just again with the data governance piece, so people can understand the priorities the decisions, how they're made, and how the outcomes affect them. And supporting long-term wellness for families, that includes topics like housing, youth opportunities, like sports, where does that funding come from, and is there an opportunity to get a little bit more? I'd also really like to focus on health because that's primarily my background and that's something that I know I can offer from the Indigenous health perspective and just the current role that I do, that is something that would come along with me, and it would be hard to say that it's not something that I could not prioritize, so thank you.
Oh, that's a tough question. There's so many priorities, there's so many things that you want to accomplish. To be realistic, it's 11 months because there's 30 days pens down at the end and then we go into another election. I think like Connie, there's already things been put into play that we need to carry forward. Pie in the sky for me and things that I know I can lend a hand and strength to is improving communication and being transparent about what's going on and where we're doing it and how we're doing it. And culture, I think those of us who go to culture nights or go to dance practice, turnout is low there the majority of the time as well. So how do we improve that? What can we do? Do we need to provide rides? Do we need to do reminder phone calls? Do we need to schedule it differently? I think that is one of the things that I would like to improve on. And I think the final thing is engaging youth. How do we engage our youth more? We just put out a publication and expect them to show up. Because our kids, I tell you honestly, because I have a teenager, you look at your phone, you've got 3 seconds to catch their attention because they're used to TikToks and little reels on Facebook and those types of things. We need to go to their level, we need to go where they are and use the tools that they're using and modernize ourselves so that we can access those youth and get them engaged. They're our future leaders. Let's not be, gentle about it. They're the ones we need to engage. What do they think? Do they think that we should keep this TFL? Do they think that we should keep going down a road that maybe they envision as differently? I think those are my 3 key things. Thank you, Chu. Shoving a cracker in his face.
Can you give a example of separating political work from administrative work? I guess in a way, giving an example of how would you stay out of the weeds as a political representative for Huu-ay First Nations?
Go there first.
Well, I think you guys made it easy because politics should not be reaching over into our administration. We can make suggestions, but that's not quite the way that we're supposed to be operating. How would I personally stay out of it? I do a really good job of it with my own work and, when the day is done, that is my work day finished and I can go back to being myself. I mean, there's a degree of professionalism that goes along with day-to-day operations, but also to not letting one spill over onto the other. I mean, every relationship, every opportunity, every initiative needs containment. You can't just, wear one hat forever. And I think a really good example of that is, within our community, we often, up and down the coast, from what I've seen, we often have community members that wear 6 different hats. And it's not unheard of for people to have to take on different roles. And I don't think it would be an issue for myself. But, often what I've witnessed and what I feel like, when it comes to my day-to-day work and then the person I get to be after, and then there's also the volunteer side as well, right? So, I mean, I'm not gonna, run my household like a coach. I'm also not going to parent my coworkers. And I'm also not going to I don't know, talk to my children like they are colleagues, so, just containment when it comes to most relationships, so I gave you the question, Edward.
Because I work at Asmanu Chonoth, I do this every day at work. I can't mix my personal involvement with Huu-ay-aht and Huu-ay-aht citizens with what I do at work. It's a matter of knowing what your responsibilities are and where the lines are, because you can't cross those lines. And like Nicole said, you can make suggestions, but they're only suggestions to administration. We have to have faith that they're educated, trained, and capable of doing their jobs without us interfering. Our role, if we were elected, is at a higher level to make bigger decisions than the day-to-day in the grass decisions. And again, we have to have strong faith that they're educated and capable and responsible to do the job that they were hired to do, which is different than us. We're in the role because citizens had faith in us, and we need to have faith in employees to do what they need to do.
Thanks, Edward. So staying out of the weeds, gladly. Yeah, if elected, the role is at the council table, where decisions are made, where the executive director takes her direction. Outside of that, it's just, like Sherry says, that suggestions or ideas, but not direction. If you're giving direction, you're breaking the law. So that's pretty serious. Okay, thank you.
We have another question online. This is from James P. Nookvis. What would you do if you disagreed with a council decision?
It is me. Sorry, it's getting late, we're playing microphone tag here. What would you do if you disagree with another council member? You would still
I think it was disagree with the council.
a council decision?
Yes.
Well, I think the most beneficial thing to do is to always have an open mind. Make sure that you're on record as disagreeing with the decision, but if you have that open mind and the decision is made, you know, there's lots of ways to get to the right place, and this decision isn't the decision you would agree with, but there you go, you have it. And you know, all of the things that council does, they do it with the most information as possible, and they have experts that are advising. So you have to have faith in that system being structured the way that it is. And always just keep that open mind of, we're gonna get to the same place, just a different way than I had thought, and be respectful. Be respectful of the decision-making process and have faith that you're going in the right direction. And the final thing I would do is pray about it. And say, Creator, it's not the way I would do it, but I trust that you've done something in the right direction, even though it's not the way I would do it.
Thanks, Jay. Well, my voice would be at the council table. If I didn't agree, I would share it there. But the decision is made and it's moving forward. Well, I have to leave it there at the table when I walk out of the room and support it, because that's what my role is as a council member. I don't work by myself. I work as a collective with the council members. Thank you.
I would take them all to tribunal. You know what, there is gonna be times where we don't always agree, where things come up where no consensus cannot be reached, and that is the human experience. And again, with containment, I would have to live with the decisions that were made as a group. You know, it's not my decision to really shoot it down or change it. But if it was something that truly went against my values, I have a feeling it probably wouldn't be on this term. But at the same time, they would really need to convince me. Otherwise, if it was, you know, really outside of my personal values, outside of Huu-ay-aht's values, and I just don't see that coming up quite with this group. But, you know, stranger things have happened. Sometimes, you know, you have to, you know, reach consensus in some way, but just really ensuring that they're hearing my concerns when I don't agree, that they can fully understand and I can explain my point, why it's a problem and why I continue to disagree, after it's been made as a decision, but I really can be swayed on just about anything with good enough facts and information and, yeah, again, with the data, you know, if they can really prove their point, they might just sway me to their side to agree with them, as long as it's not a harmful, shitty decision. I can probably work it out with somebody, so, thank you, James.
Thanks. I've heard all of you talk about, you know, how finances are fairly tight. I know years ago, we used to run into a windfall. And we'd give all our citizens a bonus, a cash bonus. And I know over the last 2 years, it's been a struggle for our council to try to figure out how to satisfy our citizens. What do we do? How do we satisfy them? And I guess the easiest one is to give them a cash bonus. And I don't think that's the way to go, but that's my personal opinion. You know, I wanted to take your pence and multiply, just for the sake of a number, 800 citizens times $500 a year. How much a year is that? And do you think that's a good investment in our finances at this day and age? Well, you could multiply that by 9 if you want, but that's what.
900.
It's up to you guys.
Is that what the number is?
Yeah, 900, yeah.
Okay.
900.
Well, I think I don't think it really matters what I think, as an individual. There always has to be some, benefits for the citizens. I know other nations do it. And today's day and age, yeah, I think we still have to be doing it, and, is it enough? I'm not sure. But the cost of living is so crazy now that, you know, families, more and more families are going to the food bank. They're trying to keep their kids in sports. They're trying to do all the checks and balances, but still coming behind the 8 ball. I hear that from elders. That was one question that came up quite a few times. Do you think that the elders' pension is gonna go up? I don't know. These are decisions that get made, big budget decisions that get made on a yearly basis. Where's the money coming from? I think that's good incentive for our business arm. That if we're making more money, then there's more opportunity for dividends. But dipping into the government pockets, well, then you're dipping into programs and services. So where do we find the balance of, we need ramps, we need to pay for hockey, we need to pay for patient travel? You know, the penny only goes so far. But finding the best ways to support the citizens, I think we could be doing more. I think maybe we should be looking at our own food banks, or I know during COVID, we did a lot. I also know there was extra funds because of COVID. How does the government increase when they're increasing for social assistance, for child tax? There, I know that there's a cry for people to go to work, but daycare is so expensive if you can get into a daycare. It's just a different time now where we used to have families, large families that we could turn to support, to help, but we don't have that anymore. Plus, we have a whole lot more challenges. So the amount that we do give, yes, I support that. I think we should be giving it.
Cool.
I feel like this can go so many different ways. This is one of those pie in the sky questions. You know, if it was up to me, everyone would get that $500 every month, you know, just recognizing elders, youth, families, you know, everyone could really use it right now. Is it the best use of our money? Absolutely not. Do people depend on it? Yes. Is that what we've created dependency on? Yes, it is. So is that something that we're willing to maintain despite, you know, if we continue to run a deficit? Also too, if we're asking our citizens to take, you know, a cut on wages, are we willing to take a cut on council? And I mean, there's so much money and what ifs that, you know, will not come down to me at the end of the day. I really think that, again, bringing this back to data, how does that money, how would that change anything really, you know? $500 personally, it's not gonna change that much in my household, but that's a spot of privilege that I get to speak to. And say that, you know, it wouldn't make or break my budget that month, that wouldn't change things in a huge circumstance, and that is a point of privilege. So again, I'm not the person to ask, we need to ask the numbers, we need to ask data. And we need to really ask the citizens if that's something that is valuable to them. And is it enough? And if it's not enough, how do you determine how much more? How do you determine who? How do you determine what? So, thank you for the question.
I remember a long time ago, we got a windfall. And there was a select few of us that were very young at the time. And we made a motion and we said, you didn't spend it, but you leave $1 million in the bank. And we end up using that money and we used it as leverage and we built the house of Huu-ay-aht. So I think there's a way we can use windfalls to benefit the nation as an entire nation and not be using it as an individual basis, but using windfalls to pour back into what the whole nation can utilize. I disagree with the annual dividend, only because I know it puts so much strain. And in some cases, I remember hearing at a meeting once, a man said, when you give me that money, you're putting the final nail in my coffin, because he was in addiction. We have set up things where, or, you know, you can divide the money up and get it in installments and that type of thing. I think our money is better served on a monthly basis or a semi-annual basis instead of all once at Christmas. You know, Christmas is coming. You know, Christmas is 365 days away from the Christmas that you just had. We should be investing our money in budgeting workshops. How do we teach someone to budget their money? How do we teach youth about credit cards? You know, in school systems now, they don't teach kids about credit cards, they don't teach kids about interest, they don't teach kids about compound interest and all those things. I think our money is better suited in different avenues that reach the same target of getting people to be self-reliant. I know it's not helpful to some, but I think that when we're saying you're gonna get a dividend at the end of the year, we need some commitment from you as well. We need to make sure that you're voting. We need to make sure that you're attending People's Assembly. So maybe it should be mandatory. When you come to People's Assembly, there's a check ready for you. When you finish your voting, there's a check ready for you. We have to have checks and balances because there's a responsibility and an onus on a citizen. And there was a responsibility and an onus on chief and council and administration and the group of businesses to all work together for the better of the nation.
Well, time on this. Thank you very much for the candidates for those well thought out answers. Jeff, you had a comment?
I know Kathy and sitting there very quietly thinking about what's going on. And I asked her if she wanted to make any closing remarks. She said, yes.
Very good. Put you on the spot.
Well, I'm glad we came and I appreciate everybody here and all your really good answers and I've learned a lot tonight. Thank you too.
Marvin's got an idea. He wants to start an upholstery business,
No,
which he just retired from.
no.
Well, we started off a little slow, but things picked up. That was good. Helpful to have those good questions from online. And hopefully we'll see a turnout tomorrow night and the next night in the homeland. So thanks to everybody. Edward, you want to sing us out?
Well, I was ready to, it didn't ready to go.
Okay. All right, thank you, and thanks to the staff for all the help organizing this and. See
Take some
everybody tomorrow.
chamas home. Take some chamas home.
Thanks.
Tomorrow, everyone.